think like bed and breakfast, you know.
All right, Scott, you're with me now, and you're narrating this. I don't have you on film, but except for this pretty lady here, Teresa Smith, you've let us up in this old hotel. This is the Graham Hotel.
Graham Hotel.
All right,
built
tell
in
me.
1916.
Tell me. Let's just walk. We're watching the hole.
We watched the hole there.
Tell me what we're looking at, man.
This is the grand hallway. This curved wall here was originally the check-in desk. Later, this became the Fayette Phone Company. Was located right here in this closet.
So the hotel was on the second floor?
Hotel was on the second floor. Downstairs was all commercial space.
You told me it was an old drugstore or something.
Post office, grocery store.
Post office.
This up here, you came up the stairs, walked in, came here to the desk, checked in.
Is it safe to go through here?
It is.
And these are all just hotel rooms?
All just hotel rooms. Each room had its own sink, but you had to share a tub and toilet with the adjoining room.
Oh, the stories that could be
And
told.
there are still little stickers on some of the doors that tell you that you don't get a discount if your neighbor locks you out.
Oh my. That is awesome, man. This is historical stuff
This is
here.
all original tile here. Laid piece by piece, not the kind of stuff you get at Lowe's now in a sheet.
Interesting. Very,
And,
very
you can see
interesting.
Here, the biggest damage to our building is caused by trumpet vines that they let grow up in it for 25 years.
So it was a hotel from 1916 until the 40s?
Until the 40s,
And then it's remained like this since the
been
40s.
just like this since then, untouched.
Man, thank you so much for letting us come up here and film. Which, by the way, Scott, go ahead and plug your awesome antique store downstairs because if you allow me to show this, we'll let everybody know what you got going on downstairs now.
Downstairs, we've got Sterling Bridges Antiques, and we have renovated about 4,000 square feet so far for the shop, and we've got plans to renovate about another 5,000 square feet of retail space to expand our business down there. And we've got some of the finest antiques that we've had in West Alabama in my lifetime. I grew up here, and
We can agree to that.
we
Just saw them.
Cool stuff.
Just saw them. Was this a tiny little room here? Well, I say tiny.
They're all about the same. A few of them are small. Look right here on the back of the door. It's still the little to let you know that you don't get your money back if your neighbor locks you out. Over there. So that obviously was an ongoing issue that people lock their neighbor out and not let them back in.
So you had your own sink, but you had to share the loo. There you
We
go.
got a couple little half baths. If your neighbor was holding you up,
You could go out in the hallway.
You really needed to go. And 1916 was the year that Fayette developed its water system and sewer system. There were only 5 buildings downtown at the time that this was built. So
5 buildings.
this was a
Was the courthouse built then?
Yes, the courthouse was here. We had a major fire in 1910, 1911. Courthouse was built back right after that. The hotel across the alley from me on the back side, I believe was built in 1912, and then mine came along 4 years later.
I told Scott before we started filming that you could have a Halloween ghost haunted house up here in this old hotel and make a fortune, man. Just a different horror scene in every room. Teresa, you'd like that, wouldn't you? Wasn't she saying something about entities when we came up?
Yeah. Well,
No boogers.
I had an artist that's done a photographic historic kind of album thing for me.
Yes, sir.
And she has on her cell phone, she has an app that detects other types of life.
Oh,
And she said this place up here was teeming with activity.
teeming.
Teeming with activity.
Well, we did have Missy Miles outside.
She
So
actually, she did say that there was a huge torch running up and down this hallway. And the funny thing about that is,
I'm not going to go very
when
much
this
further
building
here.
was built, this was the end of the building right here where I'm going to open this door.
Yes, sir.
And none of these other buildings were here. And so the odd thing about that horse running through this hallway is all this property here was the downtown Grimsley Stables. And that's where you can walk on that roof.
You can walk on it.
Yeah.
We're sure of this.
Yeah.
It's going to be some dang good footage if
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not. Here we go.
You're good.
I trusted you, man.
You're good,
You
man.
didn't let me down.
This was the Grimsley Stables out here, And that's why this door was here. There was a stairway on this side to come up to the hotel. When you came to town with horse and buggy or horse, whatever, you checked in here at the stable. You could get any of your blacksmithing work done, repairs done. And this was right here beside the stable. You could come up the stairs, go in the door, go check in, stay a couple days. Your horse and mule or horse, buggy, whatever, would be out here, and they would take care of it and feed it. But this was the Grimsley stable lot right here. The building,
amazing
over
story.
Here, the 2-story building was here. None of the buildings to the right of it were there. None of the buildings that we're standing on were here. So it was just the courthouse. That building was the Turner Hotel, and then my building, which was the Graham Hotel, is all that was here.
This looks like a, I don't know what this, of course we had some kind of furnace in there.
That was the boiler room. It
the
provided
boiler,
all the heat.
it looks like it. Right, and there goes
about
this
18,000 square feet. So that furnace down there heated the whole thing, provided all the hot water for it. And
right in that room right there. Look, those old iron grill gates down there too.
And,
that's original
you
stuff.
can see where the trumpet vine roots have done damage there, but we're going to restore all of this and fix it back up, fix all this back to its original glory, if you will. You see the 5-story building in the distance?
Yes.
That building was not built until 1928. So from these two properties here to the other side of that where the railroad depot is, there were no buildings. It was we had a straight shot to the railroad track. And so a lot of folks that rode to town on the train, the first thing they do is walk to one of these hotels, get a room, and then they'd go do their shopping.
Our courthouse business.
Courthouse business, pick up supplies, flour, meal, that kind of thing.
It's a great historical tour
The
here.
grocery store at that time, the only one I know of, there may have been others, the only one I know of was in my building at that time. It was called Klein's Market. And I had the post office, Klein's Market, and then Shepherd's Style Shop were the three facing the railroad track. And then on the side street, I had the West Alabamian newspaper and the Fayette Post were in two of my storefronts, and they were competitors. And I don't know, I haven't heard anybody tell me or read anything to tell me who was in the third storefront there. And I did originally purchase this building with the property. I've sold it this summer. I sold it to someone who's putting in a pottery studio. And this building was built in the 40s. It was one of the first Napa auto parts stores in rural Alabama. You had them in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, but this was the first one for Fed America. So, and so you're going to have a bedroom, a bathroom, and a den.
Right.
So instead of like a bed and breakfast now, where you just have a little bedroom and a bath, you'll have your own den, and we won't have a commons area. We'll have like a little private den with a TV and a little pull-out sofa, a little microwave, coffee pot.
Scott, if you would, I'm filming again, you guys, if y'all don't mind. I want you to explain just a moment about the plaster and lath, and then talk about the ventilation up over the door and that for just a moment too. And before we do, as you guys saw the wallpaper coming down the hall, talk about that
Okay.
for a second.
Well, this is called lath. These are tiny strips of wood that, if you look at this wood, this is rough lumber, so it hasn't been sanded smooth in a factory or anything like that. This is probably was cut on site. We didn't have Brown Lumber Company was not here yet, so this was probably done on site or at a little local private mill. They made all these little strips, and if you look, every one of these has a nail going into a rough timber stud.
Yes, sir.
And those nails are 6 inches long. Some guys worked an awful long time to put up every little strip, keep the cracks exactly the same apart. And they did that so when they put the horsehair plaster up here, that the part that goes through the crack is actually what held the plaster on the wall and held it in place.
Yeah, hold a piece of
And
that
you
there,
can see
Teresa.
a big pile of that right
There
here.
you go. You can see how that fit in there,
And
right?
I call it horsehair. Is
Well,
there actually
there's horsehair in it, yes.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, as I was telling you, the stable was right here at the end of the building. So
And look at here. Here, this piece has actually got a piece of that old wallpaper on it.
yeah. We've got quite a bit of old
That's a
wallpaper.
100-year-old wallpaper right there.
And all the old wallpaper 100 years ago would have been hand stamped. Every square inch of that would have been hand stamped. And for a building of this nature, this would have been an incredibly expensive building to build in 1916.
And the ventilation?
The ventilation, you've got, of course, your transom over every door. So when you're staying in this hotel room, you raise your windows, you open your transom when you're ready for bed or whenever that you're in the room, and there are huge fans in the skylight down in the grand hall, and those big fans would be turned on. They would suck air through the building, and that was the modern day air conditioner of 1916.
Look at the wire right here. Or what is this? Is this something you open it up
That's
with?
what you open the
Oh my
transom with.
goodness.
It's the hardware to slide it up and
Yeah.
down.
I want to see if I can get a shot of that wallpaper somewhere, some of the older stuff that's
Right
maybe
here,
got
this one's in
some,
the light.
yeah,
Right here.
something that's got a
I don't know if
little
you can
light
get
on
that.
it. There you go, 100-year-old wallpaper.
100-year-old wallpaper.
In a larger section that maybe, yeah, you can see this in my phone. You can see this. Hand stamped. Wow.
Hand-stamped. And
Wow, this is incredible.
it was on the ceiling as well.
Certainly was.
And
That's a lot of work went into this.
the chandeliers are gone, but if you look, you can see drop cords in
Yes,
several
sir.
places. This
See that.
hallway would have had big chandeliers hanging all down through the center of it. Would have been a water fountain right here to your right, Drew, in this little corner.
That
that
glass
was-
behind you right
That
there.
was
Okay.
a water fountain right there.
Thank you.
And
Wow. And there's your tour, a small tour, and there's a lot more of the Graham
come on over, let me
Hotel.
show you just a
We're
little
behind you.
thing. As I told you before, this round wall
Areas we have to watch here.
is this is my favorite architectural piece of the building. You can look up there, you can see the big fans I was talking about too, up in the skylight, which is all original, and it doesn't leak. It's 100 years old and there's no leaks currently, which I find to be amazing.
Oh, wow.
And this is the this curved wall, though, I think is an architectural masterpiece for 100 years ago.
They
as I
probably
said,
wet and warped the wood, didn't they?
they had to.
Yeah.
That's the only way you could do it.
And bend it around.
But the Fayette Telephone Company, the whole company was located in this room right here behind that curved wall.
Is that right?
And the switchboard operator and her two boys, they lived in two of the rooms here. And Miss Nana Lou Nichols has told me the name of the lady, Daisy Jones. That was her name.
Daisy
she
Jones.
ran the switchboard, and she listened to every phone call that was ever made in Fayette County back in the day.
Daisy, you shouldn't.
She knew all the gossip. So can't you imagine people coming up here to find out what's
Hey,
going
Daisy.
on? Because she sat in here just pulling little cords away, sticking them in the holes.
Daisy's World.
The phone numbers back then were 203 or whatever. You just pick up your phone and say, "Hook me up to 203, Dave."
And was that before a party line even?
Oh yes, way before a party line.
Oh, my.
Yeah, you can only get one person.
Now, Teresa, you may not be old enough. Do you
Those
know?
are
Do you
the-
know what a party line is? Okay.
That's
All right.
the on and off switches for the big fans.
Well, thank you
The
very
electrical
much.
wiring in here was all knob and tube wiring, which is very dangerous. So everything will be. I got one.
Once again, everybody, this is right up above the newly renovated Sterling Bridges Antiques in Fayette with the old Graham Hotel that we are in now up on top. Oh, man, that feels great.
This,
You don't want to
of
step
course,
out
that
here.
was the Turner Hotel, and our building was the Graham Hotel. In 1928-29, when the Great Depression hit, business was rough, and the two merged, and it became the Fayette Hotel. And they built this catwalk here. They moved the check-in desk only to that building, and everybody checked in through that building. And if your room was one of these numbers, you came upstairs, came out that door, walked across the catwalk, across the service alley,
Into
this building, and went and found your room. And this
this is
is
great, man.
just unbelievable. That
You
I mean,
reckon
just-
there's ever been a cigarette smoked right there on that walkway?
I mean, really, of course,
Or
these are
cigar.
not original. These were added later, but
But later in that case was still way on
oh yeah,
back.
that's still probably 40s, 30s maybe.
Trumbell Electric. and
Trumbell Electric.
I don't even remember that.
Great old little exit signs,
Yeah.
with the glass exit there.
That was.
But I'm hoping that when the Community Development Board is raising money to restore the other hotel property over there, and I hope at some point we can, replank the catwalk so we can actually
Oh.
connect them
That would be great.
and be able to associate with each
Yeah.
other.
Oh, I just had to slip off in here to, there's a closet.
What's this wallpaper?
That is,
pretty
that is,
good
yeah, that paper there. And this, they even plastered these old bricks and put the wallpaper on it. Man, this is awesome. This has been a good tour
We
here.
have stove holes, Drew, in every room, so every room had a little pot-bellied stove
Uh-huh.
for heat in the wintertime.
Oh, my
And I'm planning to put some pot-bellied stoves.
Did they heat with coal, you think, then? or-
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably was coal. One of my other favorite things, if you look in the corner.
It's kind of sooted up there. That may be from that.
Well, and that it probably
this side
was
looks
an opening somewhere
a
in
little
the terracotta chimney lines. And we have found evidence of several fires that have occurred through the years.
Yeah.
When I get into the crawl space and different
Yeah.
places,
Okay.
there's lots of places where
Yeah.
there have been a few fires in the building in 100 years, but
Yeah.
it never went down. So,
Yeah.
but one of my other favorite things is the moldings. If you look in the corners, they're kind of hard to see, but where they met their baseboards
Uh-huh.
up, we have miter saws now, and we cut the wood reverse and pull them straight together.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have that back then. And so instead of cutting that on an angle and trying to match it, they put a little obelisk or a little block
Yeah.
in every corner throughout the whole
Is that a
building.
decorative prefab deal they had?
Well, no, probably not prefab. I mean,
It's just
think of nothing was
hand-
prefab in 1916. I mean, we were barely in America, barely getting into the industrial
Yeah, and
revolution.
this is rural
and
area here
rural
too.
area here. This was saws and chisels. man.
Yeah.
Handmade.
Wow,
there,
man.
there wasn't much prefab anything. The bricks actually even were made here in Fayette County, locally made bricks. The mortar is nothing but sand and lime and water. There's no Portland cement back then to put into it, which means it's porous and. When you get a lot of rain, you can come up here and feel some of this mortar. It gets damp because it's designed to allow water to flow through it.
Yeah.
And Drew, if you look right here, you can see more of my railroad ties I was telling you
Yes,
about
sir.
that are intact that have
On
not
the window
broken
seals up there.
I think somebody took all the windows out and probably sold them for salvage at some point through the years. But